of interest is, does financial literacy have an impact on poverty? A little bit about me is that I go to Magna Vista High School, and I plan to attend Radford University in the fall to obtain a chemistry degree in hopes of becoming a pharmacist. And I'm also a student board member on the Henry County School Board. I chose this project because both Martinsville and Henry County have high rates of poverty, so I see its effects every single day. And poverty can affect anyone at any point in their lives, so it's important to educate people on ways to prevent it. Because I want to find ways to prevent it, I decided to first look at what causes poverty. I found inflation to be a major cause of poverty. Inflation, as you all know, has risen dramatically in the last few years, and the cost of many things such as food and rent have gone up, which majorly affects lower income households. In fact, a study done by Chebula and Davis found that with a $100 increase in rent, there is a 1% increase in poverty. Unemployment was also another factor of poverty. The United States Bureau of Statistic Research found that with a 1% increase in poverty, there is a 4 to 7% increase in, a 1% increase in unemployment leads to a 4 to 7% increase in poverty. Another reason it's so important to prevent poverty is because of all the negative side effects. On average, the United States spends $1 trillion a year due to the effects of poverty, which include different government programs like SNAP and welfare. And obviously, this money has to come from somewhere, which is often with an increase in taxes. And let's be honest, no matter if you're lower class, upper class, no one wants higher taxes. I don't even pay taxes, and I don't want them to go up. Another major negative side effect of poverty is worse health conditions. Those in poverty live in worse places and therefore are more likely to contract respiratory tract illnesses due to this. It was found in a study by Crouch et al. That children raised in poverty are less likely to be read or sung to as they grow up, which can affect their development when they get older. Also, impoverished schools are less likely to offer certain classes like financial education. Education has a major impact on the likelihood of poverty in a person's life. It was found that with the more education you have, the higher your salary tends to be, and the lower your chance of unemployment is. In fact, just having a bachelor's degree can decrease your chance of unemployment by half. It was also found in a study done by Torpy that a majority of jobs in the future will require a bachelor's degree. So obviously obtaining this higher education is important, but also with this higher education comes the fact of student loans, which can be a major cause of debt and poverty for lots of Americans. Financial literacy is the financial knowledge, skills, and qualities that are needed in order to make good financial decisions. An example of this is knowing the difference between all of the different retirement accounts and which one would best suit you as you get older. It was found in a study by Guest and Grimble that those with low financial literacy are more likely to take out high interest-only loans, which can have a major negative impact on credit scores. It was also found in a study by Kim et al. That those with low financial literacy are more likely to be late on their mortgage payments. Because low financial literacy can be so detrimental, it is important to find ways to improve it. One of those ways is to offer financial counseling. A study done by Collins and Nasseiger offered financial counseling to half of their participants, and those who received counseling showed a reduction in their debts by half. Another way to improve financial literacy is to offer and mandate financial education classes. These classes can teach skills like money management, balancing a check, along with other things. All this research led me to the question, does improving financial literacy help budgeting skills? In order to test this question, I needed a few supplies. One of these included a financial education packet that contained information about credit scores, budgeting, and saving and investing, which I found in the classrooms at Patrick and Henry Community College. I also needed a computer for my participants to play Claim Your Future's budgeting game. As you can see on the right, participants are given a salary, which $53,000 for a high school teacher, I wish. And these participants are asked to budget for different categories like housing, food, transportation, and communication, along with other things. For my study, I had a total of 60 participants, which I found at the community and at my aunt's hair salon. For every person, I did an SRS, which assigned them an even or an odd number. And if they were assigned an even number, they received the packet. And if they were assigned an odd number, they did not. I then allowed those who received the packet 15 minutes to look over it. After that, I had all my participants play the game and recorded how much money they had left over in a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet. after gathering all my data, I formed my hypothesis. My null hypothesis, which is what I'm trying to disprove, is that the average amount of money left over for those with the packet and without the packet would be equal. My alternative hypothesis, or what I believe to be true, is that those with the packet will have more money left over at the end than those without the packet. I then reported descriptive statistics of X bar, which is the mean, and standard deviation, which is how far out my sample is from the mean and how varied it is. The average amount of money for those with the packet was $267.7 and $188.4 for those without the packet. My standard deviation for those with the packet was $155.6 and $146.2 for those without the packet. I created a histogram because I had two different means, and the blue represents those without the packet and the green represents those with the packet. As you can see, those without the packet tended to be on the left or lower side of the graph, while those with the packet tended to stay in the middle or towards the higher end of the graph. I ran a two-sample t-test because I was comparing the means of two different groups. I ran my test at an alpha level of 0.05, which means that I'll be 95% confident in whatever results I get. This test led me to my p-value of 0.021, which basically means that if the null hypothesis was true, or that the average amount of money for both groups was actually equal, there was only a 2.1% chance I would get this result. And because 0.021 is smaller than 0.05, I'm able to reject my null hypothesis. For this, that means that improving financial literacy in education does actually have a positive impact on budgeting skills of people. Schools can use this information and they can offer financial literacy courses to their high school students as they prepare to become young adults in the real world. They have to manage their own money when they get out. And banks can also use this information to screen potential borrowers to avoid delinquency in payments. I did have a few limitations in my study, one of those being the ages in my sample. People who are older tend to have more financial experience in life, so they might have, their results might have skewed to a more positive end than those who are younger and might not have had enough time to make certain financial choices. And future researchers could focus their study on specific age groups when they do it to prevent this. Also, the social status of the participants. Those who grew up in lower income households, they don't have as much access and opportunity to learn financial skills as those who grew up in a higher status. So future researchers can also focus on how that affects the results. And also the region. I only did this in the Martinsville and Henry County region. And we have a pretty good low cost of living, which I like. But other states like California, it's too much to live out there. But we should see how that affects their budgeting skills as well. I would like to thank Ms. Spencer, my research queen, for making me do this like 6 times today. Mrs. Whitaker, also known as Jay Whitty, for helping me with the stats and math part. And the judges for coming out and watching this tonight. And the participants for making this study possible. I will now be taking questions.
In the packet you gave the participants, what were some of the things that it told them about?
I told them about credit scores and like what's a good, bad, or average credit score and how to improve it. I also told them different places they can invest their money and like certificates of deposits versus other forms of investing.
What was the average age of the participants?
Around 35. But I had some on the lower end that kind of skewed, and on the higher end that skewed it as well.
And my question's kind of related to age too. Did you almost have like an equal number of those age groupings, or was it just more in that middle?
I would say I had a lot of younger participants and then a lot of older participants, which kind of balanced out the age a little bit.
I have 2 questions. Did you personally learn from reading that packet?
Yes, I did. Kind of didn't know that Roth IRA, didn't know what that was, but in a high yield savings account, I should use that.
Awesome. Okay, and then I'm sorry, I do have one other follow-up question. Okay, so I know you mentioned high school, but at what age would you recommend students first obtaining this financial literacy course, or day-long class, or semester-long class, or whatever? Are you thinking early, late?
I think it should start around 10th or 11th because freshmen, they just came out of middle school, they probably don't even realize that they have a life after that. And I feel like 10th and 11th grade, you start thinking seriously about college and like your future and your career. So I think that would be a good place.
In the budgeting game, did you notice, was there a particular category where folks who did not get the financial literacy information, where they struggled, maybe where it was obvious that they were doing much worse than those who had the packet?
I would say housing. There was an option where you could either live with your parents, rent with a roommate, rent an apartment, or buy your own house. And a lot of people that didn't have the packet chose to straight up buy their own house. And that is a lot of money, and that really got them in the end.
Thank you, ladies.
But now I have to fix the lights again because I did not realize they would just continue to brighten. So,
Dylan is up next.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dylan Mabry, and this is a study on probiotics and their roles in human lives. I currently attend Bassett High School, and I plan in the fall to go to Ferrum College and major in medical sciences. Reasons why I chose this topic is because I'm personally interested in studying how the brain and mind works. So you think of the old cliche, better physical health leads to better mental health, and I think the better off your physical health is, the better off your mental health is as well. It also needs more study because people should know exactly what they're ingesting in their bodies and at their stomach. And it also gives people real life advice to benefit their overall health. So some general knowledge about probiotics. In a written report in 2022, it was known that these probiotics were labeled as live microorganisms that everyone needs in order to live. They're made up of many bacteria and yeast that improve overall gastrointestinal health and digestive and immune systems. And in a written report in 2016, it was found that the global probiotic market had raised over $36 million in funds, and it was one of the highest grossing markets at that time. In a study done by Liu in 2022, they took people that had cognitive disorders such as Alzheimer's disease, and they gave intense probiotic-based therapy, and at the end of the results, it was found that they heavily improved on the cognitive functions of these people. It also improves the gastrointestinal health of all people that they take these probiotics. In a study done by Boone in 2008, some everyday foods that were found that had these probiotics in it were yogurt and fruits and vegetables, one specific fruit being blueberries. One major bacterial component of these probiotics is lactobacillus. In a study done by Morin, they said that it really improves women's digestive and immune systems. That produce antimicrobial substances that goes into your stomach and counteracts the bad negative bacteria that you may have ingested. And this lactobacillus is majorly found in cultural-based probiotics, as you can see on the screen. It also helps women go to the bathroom easier. I found in my research that it heavily improves pregnant women's overall health. It also helps men and children as well, but in my research I found that it heavily did improve the health of women, especially pregnant women. So all this leads me to my research question of, does unhealthy superfood bacteria negatively affect gut bacteria? For my supplies, I was provided lab supplies by my biology teacher, Ms. Holly Dillon. She provided me petri dishes. I had 50 petri dishes. I had pipettes, the bacterial solution that I used to conduct my experiment. I also had French fries from 4 fast food restaurants: McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, Wendy's, and Burger King. And I also had the probiotic solution of 5 different types of probiotic bacteria, also provided by Ms. Dillon. So for my overall method, I took a random sample of 50 numbers and grouped my petri dishes in 10 groups of 5 groups of 10 rather, and I prepared all of them by, as you can see in the screen, I have those little white discs in the middle of them. They had been soaking in a solution of the mushed up French fries from the different restaurants and also water. It was a solution to get the negative bacteria per se on those, and I put 10 of them per group. I had a control group of also just a solution of the disc were just in water. Then after we prepared all 50 of them, we put them in the incubator at 37 degrees Celsius for a total of 3 days. And after the 3 days was up, I measured, as you can see, I'm measuring those. We measured the amount of clearance areas. The clearance areas were where the bad bacteria on the white circles had counteracted the good bacteria that was already on the petri dishes to start with. So this leads me to my hypothesis. My null hypothesis is what we perceive as true is that the mean clearance area values of all of my restaurants were the same. And my alternative hypothesis, which is what I was trying to show, is that all the mean clearance area values of my restaurants were different. I ran this at an alpha level of 0.05, which meant that I was 95% confident that I would get my results again. For my raw data, as you can see in the top, those are the measurements of my clearance areas. As you can see, McDonald's had more clearance areas, Burger King had less, Wendy's had a moderate amount, and Chick-fil-A also had a moderate amount. In the graph to the left, I have the mean X bar, which is the averages of all my values, and on the bottom I have the standard deviations, which is how far they were from the mean. The Wendy's and Chick-fil-A have the same mean value. McDonald's has the highest mean value, which means that they had the most clearance areas, which the clearance areas were bad in this case. And Burger King had the least amount of clearance areas, which means that if you were going to if I was going to recommend one to you, I would recommend Burger King, but it's still fried food in all senses. And there's my graphical representation. All the stars represent the mean values of all my data. So for my statistics, I ran a one-way ANOVA test, which is analysis of variance. I had to test for an F statistic. My F statistic was 0.18, which tests for variance, which as you can see is rather small, so there's not a huge difference in my values. I had a p-value of 0.90, which is significantly larger than the alpha level of 0.05, which means that I failed to reject my null hypothesis, and I have no sufficient evidence at the 0.05 significance level that they are different. So for my analysis, as I said before, there was really no significant difference between my values. Digestive and gastrointestinal health, the more probiotics you take or the healthier your diet is, the better off that the better your digestive and gastrointestinal health will be. And the effectiveness of these probiotics, the more you take, the better they'll be. If you take less of them, they will still positively affect you, but the more you take, the healthier you become. My study did have limitations. I had a small sample size of only 10 per group. I had funding. Ms. Dillon provided me with the bacteria from her house that she had already bought for her own self. And I had a small variance of probiotic bacteria. I only had a mix of 5. So for future research, I would say to have a broader sample size, probably 30 per group, just to broaden your variance out. I would say for funding and small variants of probiotic bacteria, I would suggest diving into the realms of different types of probiotic bacteria that may be more expensive, quote unquote. I would like to give a huge thank you to Ms. Samantha Spencer for helping me with my research section, Ms. Holly Dillon for helping me with my actual experiment, Ms. Jenny Whitaker for helping me with my math, and I would also like to thank the judges and audience for coming and listen to me about talking about health today. I will now take questions from the judges.
In your opinion, or based on research, is it more effective to eat things with probiotics or just take the probiotic capsule?
I think depending on how your diet is as a person, because if you can take, if everyone takes vitamins every day, right? So if you use vitamins and you insert a probiotic supplement or whatever, I think that would be just as easy as eating the things. Okay.
How might Burger King be able to utilize
would say that, I mean, I only had 10 per group, so if I would have broadened it out to 30, the results may have been closer than what they were. So, I could show them like go to one of the people at Burger King and I could be like, well, I conducted this research and it seems like yours are the most healthy, quote unquote. So that could be a way of doing that.
Why did you choose French fries over any other fast food?
I chose French fries because it was pretty simple because every fast food restaurant has French fries, right? And mostly all fast food restaurants cook them the same. They all fry them in oil and then they give them to you, put salt on it or whatnot. So it was just a simple and effective way to show the results.
Doing this research, has it changed your eating habits at all?
Not really, you know, because I mean, fast food, that's how they do it. However they flavor it, whatever they do, it tastes pretty good no matter where you go. So, no, I think I'll still eat French fries from fast food restaurants.
Thank you.
And we have one more. We have Kylie up last.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kylie Minter, and I decided to conduct my study on what is the most important factor for women when purchasing a personal care product. I am a senior at Magna Vista High School, and I plan on attending Bradford University in the fall to major in communication sciences and disorders to become a speech-language pathologist. I chose this project because I've had debates with my family about what products me and my brother are allowed to use. They would base theirs more on gender packaging, where I chose to look more inside of what was inside of the product, and I wanted to know how other women felt about this same topic. Gender stereotypes taught from birth directly affect how women perceive products in adulthood. A study done by Elmers found that gender stereotypes are taught to children, whether intentionally or not, by their parents and the media. This directly affects how they purchase products in adulthood and determines their consumer buying behavior. The most important stereotype that is typically pushed is attractiveness. Men are judged on their accomplishments and efficiency, while women are typically judged on their beauty and physical attractiveness. Companies are aware of this, so they will market their products to promote beauty benefits to women. Some examples of this are, since women should have clean-shaven legs, the razors will promote soft, smooth, silky legs, and since women should have nice hair, it will promote either silky or shiny hair. However, something known as the pink tax could directly influence women to not choose something based off of gendered marketing. The pink tax is discriminatory hygiene pricing based on gender. A study done by Manatees Lornell and his colleagues studied 110 different facial moisturizers. They found that on average, women's products are typically about $3 more than the male product. Despite there being no biological difference between men and women for differences in pricing for these products, there is a clear and obvious difference, and this can influence women to choose the masculine version. Because of the pink tax and women becoming more aware of gender stereotypes in their products, this can influence women to purchase products that are environmentally friendly and sustainable. There's currently a stereotype that green products and sustainable products are feminine, and that women are most likely to choose them. A study done by Felix and his colleagues took men and women and described someone shopping with a reusable, recyclable grocery bag. And they asked them to describe someone who would be using this product. Almost everybody described this person as someone who was feminine or a woman. However, when they asked them to describe someone who would be using a regular plastic throwaway grocery bag, they described them as masculine or male. This study also found that women are the most likely gender to purchase green and sustainable products. However, women could be turned away from purchasing these eco-friendly products because of the high prices. Eco-friendly products typically on average are more expensive than the regular version. A study done by Geigel found that by asking both men and women of different backgrounds and races and economic backgrounds, found that despite whether being a man or a woman, the most likely group to purchase these products are people who are higher income. Because a majority of women in the United States are middle or lower class, this could turn them away from purchasing eco-friendly products and choose something based on the price. However, education could have a direct influence on how women purchase these products. 39% of women in America currently have some type of college degree, and education and people who have college degrees typically are best at reading ingredients and nutritional labels. A study done by O'Neill and his colleagues found that women are actually the best at reading nutritional information and ingredients, as well as people who have college education. Therefore, women who have college education typically are best at reading nutritional values and things that are actually inside the product. And this could influence women's purchasing behavior to choose something that is green and sustainable rather than the price or the gendered packaging. Because of this all led me to my question. Does college education affect what women most value in a personal care product? So for my method, I chose a personal care product, which was shampoo. I printed out 3 different images, color images of shampoo, and the ingredients and prices were all visible and labeled. I printed out one $13 sustainable and green shampoo, one $4 shampoo with masculine stereotypes, and one shampoo that was $8 with feminine stereotypes. To conduct my study, I went to Walmart and found women who were shopping in the personal care product section specifically for shampoo. I asked them to sign a consent form detailing what was inside of the product, detailing what was inside of the survey and what they would have to be doing in my project, and just letting them know that they could drop out at any time. I asked the women if they had any college education, and then I recorded their answers. Then I showed them the images of shampoo and asked them to pick one that realistically they are most likely to purchase for themselves. I had 30 women in each group of non-educated and college educated, and I recorded all of my responses in a Google Doc. For my hypothesis, my null hypothesis, which is what we are assuming to be true, is that the most important factor for women with college education is the exact same as women who do not have college education. My alternative hypothesis, which is what my data is trying to prove, is that the most important factor for women with college education is not the same as women without college education. Since my data responses were qualitative and I had many varying responses, I conducted a chi-square test for homogeneity. And I ran mine at an alpha level of 0.05, which means that I am 95% confident that what I observed in my study is statistically significant and did not just happen by random chance. When I conducted my experiment, I got my expected counts, which are the numbers in the parentheses in the chart below, and the numbers next to them, not in parentheses, are the observed data, which is what I actually found in my study. The expected counts are what I could expect to observe if I were to conduct my study and the null hypothesis was true, that there was no difference between women with college education and women without in their most important factor. When I conducted my chi-square test, I got a chi-square value of 4.293, which is relatively low, which means that there's not that big of a difference in what I observed and what I could expect to find. My degrees of freedom were equal to 2, which is just how many variables I have that are independent and free to vary. And I got a p-value of 0.1168, which is the probability of finding what I found in my study if my null hypothesis was true, that there is no difference between women with college education and no college education. So to conclude, my p-value was greater than my alpha level of 0.05, which means that I failed to reject my null hypothesis. I found that there was no sufficient evidence to prove that there was a difference in the most important factor when purchasing personal care products for women with college education and women without. To conclude, I found that there was no difference in the most important factor, and the most important factor that influenced women with college education and women without were gender stereotypes and gender packaging. This could benefit both the consumer and the company, because it could let the companies know how to market to their consumers and how to market to women with making their products more gender stereotyped or have gendered marketing in them. And it could promote things to the consumer because it could let women know to, instead of just looking at the packaging of their product, instead look deeper into it, evaluate the price and the ingredients that are inside of the bottle. I did have some limitations in my study, however. My population was not representative of all women who shop for personal care products. I only asked women who were from Henry County. Additionally, the conditions of my stats test failed. When you run your expected counts, 80% of them should be equal to or greater than 5. However, 2 of mine were equal to 2.5. So therefore, I did not meet my conditions of my test. For future researchers, I would advise to better represent the population. By expanding the amount of women that we ask this question and surveying different areas, we can improve the responses that we get and better evaluate what really is the most important factor for all women. And additionally, correcting my expected counts by meeting my conditions, if we better represent the population, this will inherently fix itself. I would like to give a big thank you to my participants in my study for making this possible, Ms. Spencer for helping me out with this presentation all year, Ms. Whitaker for helping me out with the math portion, and the judges and audience for being here today. I will now take questions from the judges.
So the main difference between the two groups was college education, yes?
Yes.
If you pick something else, let's say you had more time to do this, and you pick something else to differentiate the two groups, what is something else you think you could like separate them by?
I think potentially I could choose income levels. I think that by evaluating women who were high class, middle class, and lower class, we could see how that differentiates between them and whether gendered stereotypes really do affect women the exact same or whether price affects that differently.
Were most of the women that you approached in Walmart open to participating, or did you find you had a lot of people say they weren't?
Honestly, I feel like most of the women who responded were excited to do it because they didn't have to be filmed. I only had to film one person. So most of the women were willing to participate since it was a short question. It didn't take very long and it didn't take up much of their time.
Did anybody tell you that they don't even look at the back, they just go by the smell of the product?
Honestly, a lot of people did. They said that something that was important to them was scent. And I included scent within my gendered marketing stereotypes because typically floral and fruity scents are marketed towards women, where something strong or something like pine or bourbon would be marketed towards men. So I included that within gendered marketing.
All right, so you chose Walmart, which, they could have been buying shampoo and ground beef and dog food, right? What do you think? That's a very weird combination, especially for somebody who doesn't have a dog. Anyway, okay, let's say you were to do this again, and let's say you were to go to somewhere like Ulta sticking out in my brain, which is very much, let's be gender stereotypically a female store, specified to personal care items. Just, what do you think? Do you think there might be differences if you go in a store that's specific for personal care items?
I think that if you are going to a store specifically dedicated to personal care products, you might have a specific product in mind that you are searching for, whereas someone in Walmart, relatively all the products in Walmart are sort of cheap. Products in Ulta and Sephora can be relatively expensive. So if you're going to Walmart, you might just be purchasing something for the look of it, while in Ulta I feel like you would better evaluate what you were purchasing.
You mentioned the pink tax. In your research, was there any justification for the difference in prices other than manufacturers believe women will pay more for those products?
From what I could determine from my study, a majority of it was because companies believe that women are willing to pay more for those products because gender stereotypes influence women so greatly when purchasing products. I did not find anything that was directly in support of the pink tax. However, I believe that some products which contain more chemicals, such as deodorant. I did not evaluate deodorant in mine because men and women release different scents, so you would need different products for that. But that could justify maybe a different price range, but for things like shampoo or razors, I do not believe that there's justification for it.
Thank you. So that closes out night 2 of our senior research presentations. And let's give these guys another round of applause. They all did so well, and they have all worked so hard, and I am so proud. And now you get to be done with senior research, and you don't have to deal with practicing 1,000 times anymore. And just thank you guys for all the hard work that you've done. And I love you very much. And super proud of you. And so thank you all for being here, for supporting them. Please help them celebrate. Thank you, judges, for being here to help support them. And I will see most of you tomorrow or Thursday. Thank you. Bye.